Hello students, I'm back with another chapter from Vistas. Should Wizard Hit Mommy by John Updike. Just have a look at these pictures. Picture 1, picture 2, picture 3 and now this. Again, picture 1, picture 2, picture 3. Does it remind you of anything? These two sets of pictures. Well, yes. We are talking about stereotypes, gender stereotypes and gender roles. So what are gender roles? The behaviors of men and women that are considered socially appropriate are called gender roles. Just like we saw in the pictures, the first picture, mother is cooking and feeding the children. The husband looks lovingly at his wife and boys as a satisfied soul. Why? Because he has been brought up with this belief that he is supposed to be the breadwinner of the family and the lady is the caregiver. This is the way life has balanced the roles of man and woman in society. And that is what I am talking about, stereotypes. That's why picture 2 shows us the girl is doing laundry. Picture 3 shows us the old lady is taking care of the kitchen. Whereas in the next slide, you see picture 1 where this man is sitting on a laptop. In the second picture, this man is reading the newspaper business as if only men can handle that. And the third one shows a man is driving a car. But the story that we are going to take up, Should Wizard Hit Mommy, is actually a very different story. Why? Because it is trying to reflect the attitudes that were prevalent in those times. When I say those times, I'm talking about the mid 20th century. And I always say, children, that literature is the reflection of the age in which it is written. And Should Wizard Hit Mommy rightly mirrors the society in the story. So let's know a little bit about the author, John Updike. He was an American novelist, poet, and short story writer. He was recognized for his careful craftsmanship, his unique prose style, and his prolific output. He graduated from Harvard in 1954, and John Updike is best known for his domestic fiction. Through Should Wizard Hit Mommy, John Updike raises many issues. The first one we've already discussed, assumption about gender roles that reflect the attitudes which were widespread in the 1950s and 1960s. The second major issue is about the parent-child equation, and it brings up to a very pertinent question. Are parents always right? The third one is peer acceptance. And this, let me tell you children, till date, I can see that in my students, that a child can go to any extent to be accepted by his peers. So these are certain issues that are brought forward. There's another very important thing, and that is Jack's discomfort with the independence that his wife and daughter have started showing. That is the other thread that weaves in and out of the story. So throughout the story, you will find that there are many examples that bring forward this particular thing. That is Jack's discomfort, or in my words, I would say Jack's insecurity. So if you open your textbook to page 50, highlight this line. Now, Joe, Daddy is telling the story. Do you want to tell Daddy the story? And then moving on to page 53, first paragraph. She thought the story was all over. Jack did not like women when they took anything for granted. He liked them apprehensive, hanging on his words. I'll just come back to these lines. Towards the end, same page, it's Daddy's story. Shall Daddy not tell you any more stories? Please underline this. And then the last paragraph on page 55, where you can read over here, caught in an ugly middle position, and last line of the chapter, he did not want to speak with her, work with her, touch her, anything. So essentially, what I'm trying to tell you is that the father is so insecure that he feels threatened if his authority is questioned. It doesn't matter to him whether it's his 4-year-old daughter or his own wife. Which brings me to another very important aspect about the story, and that is that you will find that there is a story within a story. So Jack is telling a story about a particular animal, but through the story, he's trying to talk about the validity of parental authority and also about the desire of the animal to be accepted by his own peer group. So that story within a story is very important. And in this story, you will find 3 sets of relationships. They are one of the father and daughter, second of the husband and wife, and the third of the author and the reader. So let's move forward and look at the point-wise summary of the story. Jo, Jack's 4-year-old daughter, is used to hearing bedtime stories from her father Jack. Jo is, by the way, 4 years old, and this tradition has been going on for 2 years, and now for some reason Jack feels completely, he doesn't have many ideas as to what the story should be about. So every day, the basic storyline would be the same. And the basic storyline, you please highlight this on page 48, the first part, which gives you the basic storyline. And that is, every day there would be a small creature. It could be Roger Fish, Roger Squirrel, Roger Chipmunk, who had some problem. He would go to the wise old owl, and the wise old owl would direct him to the wizard. The wizard would use his spell, solve the problem, ask for some money, and the animal would always have less money, and then the wizard only would direct him to a place where he would get the extra pennies, and then the animal would be happy. He would go back home just before the daddy came back from his work. So you see how the author is reinforcing the stereotype that the daddy goes out to work. So, on that particular Saturday, Jo wanted to hear the story of Roger Skunk, a new animal. Jack started the story of the tiny creature, Skunk. And as I said, the animal would always have a problem. So, the problem here with Skunk was that he smelled very bad. And it was so bad that the other animals of the jungle would not play with him. So when he is talking about Roger Skunk, Jack is reminded of his own humiliations as a child. This is on page 49, underline this, because this goes as the first example of autobiographical element. So Jack, through the medium of his own story, is trying to talk about his own insecurities as a child. So, the story took the same course. Roger Skunk went to the owl directed him to the wizard asked Roger Skunk what he wanted to smell like, and Roger Skunk told him that he would like to smell like roses. The wizard chanted, and Roger Skunk started smelling like roses. Wonderful. With his smell of roses, he was accepted by all other creatures, and this made him very happy. What else did he want? Because the story, the chapter actually clearly tells us that once his smell was changed, everything went back to normal, and the other animals, they played all kinds of games with Roger Skunk. But when Roger Skunk went home, his mummy said, that the smell was awful. The roses smell was awful. She asked who made him smell like that. He replied, the wizard. She took Roger with her and went to the wizard. She hit him with her umbrella and asked him to change the smell of her child to his original smell. Jo was very unhappy and asked her father to change the ending of the story. So this is what I was talking about. One, the peer acceptance thing. Jack is talking about Roger Skunk through the story. He's trying to tell Jo that you don't have to change yourself to be accepted by your peers. And second, he's trying to give her a lesson that parents know what is right for their children. But Jo protested, and Jack tried to snub her by saying that it was Daddy's story. Remember, we underlined that? It's Daddy's story. Shall Daddy not tell you any more stories? So he snubs her and ended the story at the point when Skunk's mother comes and kisses him and says she loved him very much. Again, brings us to another very important point. Parents, they love their children only when the children are obedient. Well, I don't say that. That's what Jack is trying to convey through the medium of the story. So, Jo asked her daddy if the other animals ran away from Roger's skunk. Jack said no. They finally got used to the way Roger's skunk was and did not mind it at all. So, you understand what he's trying to do? He's trying to reiterate that you don't have to change yourself because a time will come, others will accept you the way you are. Jo was not happy with the ending. She wants her father to change the ending and she's after her life, saying, tomorrow I want you to tell me the story that wizard took that magic wand and hit that mommy right over the head. And the answer to this is, no, that's not the story. The point is that the little skunk loved his mummy more than he loved all other little animals and she knew what was right. So what was right? Basically, again reinforcing the same point that parents know what is right for their children. And here I would like to draw your attention towards the second example of autobiographical element. And it goes like this. If you go to page 54, it says, from her expression that she realized he was defending his own mother to her or something as odd. So this is again where he thinks his mother, what she did at the time when Jack was a child, was the correct thing. That is interfering with the story. So that's the second example of autobiographical element. Remember that, children. So he puts her to bed and comes down. Here he saw Claire is his wife, wearing his shirt on her maternity smock. Does it really matter? It doesn't. But in his head it does. Why? Because he thinks Claire is trying to prove that I am the man of the house. By wearing your shirt, I have put on the mantle of the man of the house. She was painting the woodwork without asking for any help. Very important. So essentially, if Claire had come to him like a damsel in distress, asking him for help, he would have been very happy. That would have satisfied his male ego. But she did not bother. She just started doing it herself. And that he was not able to accept. Suddenly he feels as if their marriage was like a cage, half old tan and half new ivory. He felt caught in an ugly middle position. These are important phrases and lines. I'll explain this in the next few slides. He did not want to speak to Claire or have anything to do with her. Her independence makes him feel unwanted. He feels no bond with her, no desire. So to that extent, imagine, children. That's how the story ends. So let's look at this ugly middle position. It's in the last paragraph of the chapter. Jack loves his family but is unhappy because of their independent thinking. Jo has started asking questions and is in a defiant mood. His pregnant wife has put on his shirt as if announcing that she wears the mantle. She is busy painting furniture. He is caught between two contrasting worlds. Understand this. Why it is an ugly middle position? Because he is caught between two contrasting worlds. One world is where women are dependent on their men, like his mother's world or the world portrayed in his stories. So, taking you back to the story, which always says that the mother was at home and the father animal would come back in the evening. Yes, so he's trying to reinforce that. That was one world. The other world was the one in which Claire and Jo lived, where women were independent and have the right to express their views. And there's one more point, that Jack could put neither his daughter to sleep nor help his wife paint the fence. So, in both the places, he was not successful, and that's why he feels he's caught in an ugly middle position. Next important line is half old tan and half new ivory. So, half old tan is that dark brown color, half new ivory is the new ivory color. So, here John Updike has used the metaphor to make it very clear. He uses a metaphor for Jack's life. New feminist changes in the old family structure. So, half old tan represents the old belief which promotes subjugation of a woman to her male counterpart. Half new ivory represents the suffragette movement of the early 20th century. The last line indicates that both Jack and Claire, although being a couple, were diametrically opposite. Both had different ways of looking at the position of woman. So, this difference of perspective makes Jack tired, and he does not want to be trapped in the cage of marriage in which he is stuck with his life. Let me draw your attention towards these two very important lines, children. These can be used to ask you to explain with examples as a 5 marker in your board exam. So, understand these two lines very carefully. They can come as a short answer as well as a long answer. So let's solve some questions as per the latest CBSE format. As you all are aware that you will be getting multiple choice questions. They will be based on a reference. So here the reference is, he smells so bad that none of the woodland creatures would play with him. Who is he? Option C, Roger Skunk. This is the part of, is it the part of basic tale or variation? Yes, option B, variation of the basic tale. Another MCQ, who made you smell like that? Why was Roger Skunk's mom angry with him? Option A, because of his new rosy smell. Why does Joe want the wizard to hit Roger Skunk's mother? Option C, because she does not let her son do what he wants. So another set of questions would be your short answer questions, 2 markers in your subjective paper. This particular question was asked in the foreign paper in 2017. Give an example to show that Joe was a sensitive child. So the answer comes from the first part of the story. Jack narrates the story with Roger Skunk as the main character. He talks about his humiliations on being ostracized because of his foul smell. He mentions about Skunk's tears on being treated like this, but he traces the tears in the eyes of Joe too, clearly revealing that she was a sensitive child filled with empathy. The second short answer question, what is Mother Skunk's role in the story? The role of Mother Skunk is pertinent in raising 2 major issues. We've discussed this, but just reinforcing. Should parents impose their view and take decisions for children? And is it right for parents to ask for unquestioned obedience? That's what the Mother Skunk was doing. Also about children having the independence to take decisions regarding their own future and how important acceptance by one's peer group is for an individual. So both these issues are brought forward by Mother Skunk's role. Yes? Long answer question. These kinds of questions are for 5 marks. I could think of character sketch of Jack, and I've already discussed ugly middle position and half old tan and half new ivory. They are also very important lines, can be used for 5 markers. Let's quickly look at character sketch of Jack. He was a conscious father and responsible husband. He believes parents know what is best for their children, and that is what he's weaving through in his story. He's irritated by Joe's constant questions, like women hanging on to his words, not used to his authority being questioned, feels caught in an ugly middle position, and feels marriage is a cage. I hope this presentation helps you in your understanding of the chapter Should Wizard Hit Mommy by John Updike. Thank you, good luck,